Hi friends, and welcome to Marketing for Performers, also known as How to Get Yourself a Gig. I am Rachel Strickland, and I've been freelance for 15 years. Aerial mostly. Variety, performance, and dance have been my specialties. Also, as a human, just in general, I am probably highly unhireable by a large entity at this point just because I am so spoiled and I really, really like working for myself. So I'm going to show you how I did it and how I now teach others to do it. I run a program called the Audacity Project. It's an 8-week-long mentorship course for physical performers and freelance creative entrepreneurs on how to get your poop together and pursue the opportunities that you really want to be working on. The system that I'm going to give you today is quite simple, and it can be extremely effective. It also presupposes that you have some things already in your back pocket or are on the way to getting them. But before we go into that, the bad news. You may have noticed that being good does not get you work because it's a completely different skill set. Bummer. It helps. It certainly does not hurt your chances, but since pursuing opportunities and getting work is a different skill set, being really good at what you do is not necessarily enough. The good news is that it is a skill set that is 100% achievable. So let's talk about those things that I'm sort of presupposing that you might have in your back pocket. Those things are the materials to represent yourself, including photos, videos, an online promo kit, an artist bio. These things, you're going to need these things. And before you get up in arms, isn't an Instagram profile enough? In some cases, yes. It really depends on who it is that you're soliciting for work. Some people might be like, oh yeah, sure, Instagram's fine. I can see everything I need to see. Whereas the people that are making those choices in some other instances might be like, what do you mean you don't have a website? My recommendation is that you have one. And while I can't go into extensive detail about what all of those need to be and look like, as I literally spent 8 weeks doing that through the Audacity Project, I do want to give you some best practices. 1, photos. You need a headshot. It does not have to be professionally taken. It is desirable to have really nice looking photos. And if you can get them professionally taken, fantastic. But something is always better than nothing. So if you need a headshot and you don't have one and you haven't had one and it's been 6 months and you keep meaning to go get one taken, go up against a blank wall, have your friend light direct and art direct for you, and take it yourself. Have it from about here, below the shoulders, up, and please be looking into the camera. I know that we all want to stare dramatically to the side, possibly with a veil over our face. The point of a headshot is to show what you look like. You do not have to wear stage makeup in them because we need to know what you look like. Other photos that can be useful are you on your primary apparatus or in your primary discipline, plural. I get asked pretty frequently, is it desirable to have it against a white background or a black background? Does it have to be taken in a studio or can it be outside? All of the above. All of the above are functional. These are choices for you to make. You've probably noticed by now that there's no very clearly defined career path for freelance circus professionals. It's like the industry is a jungle and we're just walking around with a machete trying to find our way. That's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, we're walking through a jungle with a machete, so that's unnerving. On the other hand, the fact that there is not a pre-prescribed course of action that everyone needs to take means that you have lots of choices. And as a freelance artist, you get to make those choices according to what is going to be best in service of you and your ambitions. Speaking of your ambitions, another thing that really trips people up is video because folks believe that everything needs to be really, really high quality, shot by a professional in front of a live audience. And while that would be fantastic and is totally desirable, it's not the only thing that can get the job done. What we're looking for in terms of photos and videos is evidence of your competence and excellence. Also, keep in mind that most of us have been training in our backyards for the past 2.5 years. So while top-tier, high-quality video is awesome to have, don't wait until you have a $5,000 budget for a crew before you have video representation of your work. What we're looking for here is proof of concept, so that when you contact someone, they contact you back and they're like, cool, show me what you do. And you can be like, bam, that's what I do. That's my proof of concept. That's me. This is proof that I can do the things that I say that I can do. And the good news is that as you get higher and higher quality materials, as your career progresses, you can replace the old things. So that is not even the meat of this video. I want to give you the strategy that I have followed my entire career and the strategy that I teach in the Audacity project for how to get yourself opportunities and how to get yourself a gig. Because once again, that bad news, being good doesn't get you work because it's a different skill set. Relationships get you work. And I don't mean that in the sense that there's this elite club of people that you need to know in order to get any meaningful work. Because you can use the relationships that you have right now to pursue the work that you want to pursue. Speaking of which, that is step 1. My camera's in mirror. I'm leaving this in the video. Step 1 of the strategy, identify what you want to do. Here are some examples. Now, the more specific you can be when you write this down, by the way, write this down. Don't do it in your head. Don't do that to yourself. So back up. Get a piece of paper. Get something to write with. Write down the things that you want to do. And the more specific you are, the more likely that this is going to be effective for you. Hurdle number 1 that comes up at this point in this exercise most frequently is, I don't know what's out there. Like, I don't even know where to look. Where do I look? If you only have 3 things on that list, I think we need to add to your vocabulary of available opportunities to you. Also, I'm going to stop you here because you may already be self-editing in your head. You're like, well, I'm not a good fit for this. I'm not a good fit for this. I'm not a good fit. That is not your job. Your job as an artist is to make work and put your work forward. It is someone else's job to decide what you are and are not a good fit for. Unless the person that makes those choices is sitting in front of you right now, telling you otherwise, you never know what they are looking for, and you never know if you're going to be a good fit for it or not, because it's not your job. So do try not to self-edit. And on your quest to get as many things on this list as you possibly can, let's go for like at least 10, okay? You may not be able to think of 10 opportunities that sound like fun to you today, and that's fine. It just means that as you move throughout the world and interact with your community, keep your eyes and your ears open. Instead of thinking of everything as, that's over there, start looking at it like a buffet. Things that you totally have access to. Why not? What are your heroes doing that look cool? What are your friends doing? That one show that you saw that one time that was so awesome that you couldn't sleep that night thinking about it? Who runs that show? Don't self-edit. Write it down. Life is too short to go to boring parties. You can approach getting opportunities organically, and that can totally work really well for you. The trouble with that is that if we're not being specific about what we're going after, then we can end up spending a lot of time in positions that aren't really a good fit for us and that we're not really super thrilled to be there. So, life's too short to go to boring parties, so only write down the parties that seem fun to you. Again, the more specific you can be, the better. I'll give you some examples. 1, an events company. Events companies hire variety performers for corporate functions, private parties, etc. Event planners, even wedding planners, you can go that route too. And these are typically one-off gigs, and typically they hire from the same pool of people over and over again. If you don't know who's doing that in your local community, Instagram is your friend. What's the name of the company? Write it down. Most of your friends and colleagues that you see posting on social media that they did this gig or this gig or this gig and they look fabulous, they will almost always tag the company that they're working for. So that can be a source of information for you. Another example of work that's commonly desirable is cruise ship work. But what cruise line? Write it down. If the company has a website, a spreadsheet would be a really nice way to keep track of that. Performance ensembles. If they're national, international, there are people that are in charge of outreach, even if they're on a volunteer basis. So that's your first column, the names of all the opportunities that you want to be a part of. Column 2, you guessed it, is the person that you need to speak to. So the strategy thus far is identifying the opportunities that you want to be a part of, aka the fun parties that you want to go to, and 2, identifying the gatekeepers that hold the door. And yes, the next part is the unthinkable, actually talking to those people. The people that hold the keys to an opportunity know this. They are used to getting these inquiries, and if you don't do it, someone else is going to. As far as exactly what to say and how to compose these messages, I'm going to go into that in detail in the next video. That comes out in a couple of weeks. So if you're watching this in February of 2023, in mid-February, wait a couple weeks, and while you're doing that, get that list filled out. What stuff do you want to do, and who do you need to talk to do it? So to help set you up for success, I wanted to give you some kind of life hack things that you can do to make this process easier and more effective for you. Because thinking of your life in terms of an endless parade of emails that you need to write to possibly scary people forever is terrible. So instead, I invite you to think about doing this kind of outreach work as a system that you put in place to support your growth in your career and expanding the boundaries of your professional world. One good way to do this is to make Marketing Monday. Marketing Monday, I didn't come up with that. That's my good friend Luke Haynes, who is a successful quilt artist. I'll say that again. Successful quilt artist taught me about Marketing Monday. And every Monday, he would sit down and he had such a list as the one that I just asked you to write, and he would reach out. He would reach out to galleries. He would reach out to collectors. He would reach out to museums. He would respond to open art calls. Does it have to be Monday? No, of course not. But if you can set aside 2 hours a week where this is your sacred duty to sit down and expand the boundaries of your professional world, it will serve you and it will yield results. In the Audacity project, we started calling it Thirsty Thursday, Sassy Saturday. The important part is to pick a day and an amount of time that you can live with and grow with. And put it on your calendar, because if it's not in your calendar, it does not exist. So you're going to be likely writing a lot of similar messages. I encourage you to use a template. Now, in the next video, I'm going to go into detail about how to compose such a template for a couple of different applications. But for today, canned responses. Okay, so this is my email. Don't read my email. Anyway, over here, this is Gmail, which is what I think most of us are using now. This plus sign over here to the right of the screen is where you get add-ons. So if you click on that, it's going to pull up all the stuff that you can get into the search bar. Type in canned responses. There it is. Boop. As you can see, I already have mine installed, but you can install that. It's free. So once you have that installed, go to compose an email. I'm going to make this big so nobody's reading my emails. So here's the compose window. If you go down to the bottom, you see this little icon there that's going to pop up, and you can click on that and it will pull up your pitches. I have 2 pitches saved here in this email address, or you can set up a new one. Let's just say add new. You don't have to, you don't really have to do much of this, but adding the content, this is just helpful when you have already composed a message that is personable, brief, to the point, and effective, and you can start using that over and over again. Another add-on that I think is really, really useful is Boomerang. Boomerang for Gmail. Fun little gadget. You can pick that. And what that allows you to do is, like, when your inbox is getting crowded up and you have very limited cognitive energy, you can boomerang that and Gmail will send that back to you at a time that you prescribe. Because your cognitive energy is a precious and finite resource. So if you're getting distracted by a bunch of other stuff in your inbox and you're during your Marketing Monday hour, this is just a really helpful way to get rid of that stuff so that it's not bumming you out anymore. Another thing that I would highly recommend everyone get is some kind of scheduling software. I use Calendly. There's a free version and there's a paid version, of course. Acuity is also super popular, so you don't necessarily need to pay for this. And the reason that I recommend it is because a lot of times, one of the best things that you can get out of writing to someone who's in a place of gatekeeping is to be able to offer them time at their convenience. And maybe they have their own scheduling software, but to avoid the back and forth, you can create your own scheduling so that you can just send them a link and be like, choose anytime and I will call you. So those are 3 little life hacks that can make your life easier when you're doing Marketing Monday, Thursday, sassy, whatever day, whatever hour you choose. And those are, again, canned responses, Boomerang, and a scheduling software, so that if the heavens open and someone's like, sure, let's pick a time, let's have a conversation, then that can happen easily. And the strategy so far, have a list written down of opportunities that you want to pursue, as well as who you need to speak to and whose face you need to get into to pursue that opportunity. This is meant to be supplementary to going to auditions and other more traditional ways of finding work. So if you're tired of just waiting around for auditions to pop up, you don't have to. You can do it this way as well. It's super effective. Sometimes you have to knock lots of times, but I'm going to show you how to knock in detail in the next video. So happy February. Good luck with your list. Next time.